Hello and welcome to another Overlord and Skeleton Knight lore and battle video, and today we will take a look at which bone boy would win a fight to the very death and beyond. Ainz Ooal Gown, the Overlord of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, or Ark, the friendly neighborhood skeleton. But before we're going to do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. Thanks guys. Now with that said, let's take a look at the main differentiating factor that sets Ainz and Ark apart, namely the difference in level. Simply speaking, Ainz Ooal Gown is a level 100 Overlord, while Ark is a level 250 Heavenly Knight. And if we simply take Ainz Ooal Gown by his own word, namely that usually a difference in just 5 levels makes it pretty clear who will win and who will lose, then this overwhelming gap in the levels between Ainz and Ark is something that would lead Ainz to be utterly dominated and annihilated in this very fight, especially because Ark has not only access to abilities such as fire, but also to healing and holy magic spells and attacks. The only thing Ainz Ooal Gown would have the upper hand against is ironically the effect of Ark's sword and its thunder and its cutting edges of lesser use against a skeleton. But still, given the difference in power, it is pretty clear that Ainz Ooal Gown would lose decisively. That is, if we just go by levels alone. But on the other hand, as Aqua has shown, during her brief battle with the undead Overlord, different universes have different power scales. The simple low-level spell of Turn Undead, something that Ainz Ooal Gown would find amusing rather than hurting, did make an absolute impact, simply because it was used by a literal goddess, and because the level system are slightly different between the worlds, despite being based on Dungeons and Dragons in both cases. Now with that said, we have to take a look at how powerful Ark and Ainz in their respective worlds are. And on the first glance, both are quite similar. Skills like Wyvern Slash, carried out with Ark's sword-colored bulk, can devastate a good chunk of the forest. And Ainz is also known to be able to fight to that extent, though judging by the fact that Ark's spells tend to be simpler in nature, and that the devastation, especially compared to what Ainz did to Sheld here, with the goal of all life is death, Ark seems to be weaker than Ainz, far weaker indeed. So judging by this, Ainz should have in fact the upper hand. Among other things, Ainz Ooal Gown has the spell equivalent of a nuke that is powerful enough to annihilate an entire city, and that can be casted 3 times with just one single action. And he can kill things dead to the point that even the once fertile soil of the forest of top is turned into a lifeless desert, sterilized to a microbiotic level. He can use spells, much more powerful than just fire, like Vermilion Nova. He can fight as a melee fighter, and use not only the equipment of Touch Me, one of the 9 world champions, but also that of his guildmates, who were all expert player killers. He has some of the most devastating summons, ranging from Death Knights that act as tanks to elemental skulls, able to unleash devastating magical spells, again like Vermilion Nova. His Doomlord is able to fight with some of the strongest armored guys in his world, and almost on an equal level, and sometimes even beyond that limit. He still has summons like the Death Emperor and the Death Empress. And if Ark counts as living, because he is in actuality just an elf with an origin story, then Ainz could literally not only touch, but also grasp his heart with an insta-death spell. And if Ark counts as undead, he can still use the skill that killed Sheltier, who is also an undead being. Furthermore, Ainz can unleash the literal children of one of the Lovecraftian outer gods, and his dark young killed well beyond 100,000 people and drove an entire army, not to retreat, but to run like rabbits. And in contrast to Ark, Ainz came with his entire equipment into the new world, including the staff of Ainz Ooal Gown, an item buffing him well beyond anything normal characters could achieve. So if we judge by sheer destructiveness, Ainz would dominate any fight. But what if they turned out to be equally strong? Who would then have the best shot at winning matches? But what if they turn out to be equally strong? Who would then have the best shot at winning matches? Well, judging from the fact that Ainz is a caster, and that Ark is a heavenly knight with fire and holy magic, then he holds a similar advantage like Sheltier, meaning that one of these spells is bound to be very effective against Ainz, all depending on his outfit and his ability to bluff. In addition to all of this, Ark's armor is the highest tier in his game, so therefore it should be even stronger than that of Sheltier, and his shield and his cape make him very well defended indeed. Furthermore, Ark regenerates his MP and his HP thanks to his equipment way faster than Ainz does. But on the other hand, Ainz has not only more equipment, including his staff, which comes with an extreme number of summonings, in addition to his own, and Ark's sword is ineffective against the skeleton, because Ainz Ooal Gown is immune to electric damage as an Overlord, and slicing and piercing attacks are not very effective against the undead as well, since there are no vital organs that can be stabbed, and no flesh that can be cut and bled. Ark might even be forced to sheath his own sword and fight with his hilt, simply because it would be more effective to inflict comparably low amount of blunt damage than high amount of ineffective cutting damage. And Naberal once faced a similar problem, and therefore if Ainz Ooal Gown unleashes pretty much every spell and summoning he has, thus rapidly depleting his mana pool and the health of Ark before switching to melee combat, then Ainz Ooal Gown, assisted by his many summons, could overwhelm Ark and win the fight. But on the other hand, the more the fight is drawn out, the more Ark's formidable armor, his shield, and the regeneration all of his equipment provides would impact the fight, and ultimately would let him win the match, and then Ark could just activate one of his special attacks or special abilities from his weapons and armor and win the match. And that was my estimate of how a fight between Ark and Ainz would play out. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Simply write your opinions down in the comments. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Bad Guy, Ben C, Chrissy, Crowley0221, Sia, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Dystopia II, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, Chromius, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Passonage, Primus 11, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, and Sonnegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.